It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, back into another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had showed off my prior session with Rick here. We did this inside section of the forearm again, and you can see it's still a bit dry in here and mostly peeled. There's a little bit down here that still hasn't peeled. I find the oranges to be similar to white, where they tend to heal a little bit slower and a little bit chunkier for whatever reason. I don't know why, but even in the bat that Alex, another tattooer, did on the shin there, the orange is the only part of it that is still in any way healing. It's been, I think, probably 3 or 4 weeks, and there's just a little bit in the orange that's still healing. So something in the orange pigments either doesn't agree with me or just doesn't heal as well. Maybe it's just too thick, or it could be some kind of a slight allergy or something that irritates my skin uniquely. I don't know. I know a lot of people have problems with red pigments, or did in the past, and because of some of the older red inks, red ink has a bit of a bad name for having allergic reactions and stuff like this. So it could be the case that something in the orange inks triggers some reaction in my body uniquely. I don't know. Maybe someone else has some experience with bad experience with oranges they could share. But I never really had a whole lot of orange ink. I might have had a little bit in my my first bodysuit. Obviously, then in the blackout bodysuit that was done after that, there would have been no orange. And then when we got to doing all of the subsequent layers over top of the black, we've now done like countless different versions of every color, and so I had no real experience with orange until my third and fourth and fifth and how many other layers that we've done since. So there was no like prior problem with orange because we'd never tried it before. So I don't think that has anything to do with layering though, because all of the other colors that we use heal mostly normal. It's just been that orange that I found troubling. Now, with that said, I also have mentioned that white ink tends to heal a little bit different in general, and it is the case that you're not really going to be packing white normally. The only times that we've packed white has been on top of the blackout, obviously, to lighten chunks of it. But with that said, it's not typical that you're using white to pack in any other tattoo, so it's hard to say if that has anything to do with layering, or if that's just I would just assume that that's white anyway, where it is thicker. With that said, obviously I had another session. I'm not gonna waste too long before I talk about that. I did want to mention that the result we got in here is very close to what I want this sleeve to look like. It's a little dry right now, but I'm very happy with how those colors came out. And whatever Rick did that day did wonders. I'm very happy with that result. I hope that we can have more results like that. This session is still a little bit dry and still healing, but some of the colors are coming out a bit more. The pink is coming out a bit more in there. So hopefully with a little more time, that'll look nice and vibrant. But I had a better result healing this session than this session. So. And in saying that, no problems healing, like it's not like it's healing bad or slow. It's just I'm looking for a certain vibrancy, and we have it going up top here. If we can get that going more or less everywhere in the sleeve, then we're good to go. But yeah, we got, I think we're going to be working more on the back stretch here, but I'm not exactly sure next. So anyway, had another session with Terry, and I didn't mind that we actually didn't get this whole rose done. I'll lead with that. I'll get into why and all that shit here in a minute. And maybe it will be a little more context on why I started talking about oranges. I wanted to talk a little bit about colors in general in this one. This top rose, I've mentioned recently quite a bit, hasn't been as solid as the other roses. It's not even as solid as the one on my hand. And down here you can still see I'm healing a little bit on my wrist. It certainly wasn't as solid as the one on my forearm or the one on my ditch. The one on my ditch is the best of all the roses on my arm. Obviously the ones on my neck are quite a bit better in general. I think that the layout of the ones on my neck, they were laid out a little bit differently. These were originally done by Rick and then taken over by Terry. And because they're a smaller area, the formations of the roses are denser. So I think they just have a little bit more contrast, deeper, or not deeper, but denser. So everything in here is tighter. And so there's more room for color play and contrast. And that's kind of the same way with the ones on my head, where the ones on my arms, Terry laid out, and he has a bolder, kind of more simplistic style than either the neck roses or the forehead / head roses that I have here. So they are slightly different, but now we have them all in the same color palette at least. But with all of that said, the worst of all the roses was the one on my bicep. And so I wanted to take a good crack at that and try and make it better. Now, making this rose better doesn't just mean redoing the color for a third time. If you'll recall, early in 2024, we did 2 passes of the purple, 2 passes of the red, and then we did 3 passes of the blue and 3 passes of the greeny blue, the turquoise, this teal color. That's turquoise blue fusion mixed with white in places for highlights. We did that on all of the roses, but the one on the bicep was never as contrasted or as striking as any of the other roses. And so I told Terry I wanted to at least redo that one. And then if it looks dramatically different after being recolored, then we'll do the other ones too. Now, Terry is betting that it will, and my bet is that I don't know that it will, because this is going to fade back quite a bit. But even if it doesn't, I'll probably want to do these details in the other ones. The reason why I wanted to do these water drops and like the little rain marks and shit like that, they're going to fade back quite a bit, because right now they're very fresh, and they were actually done in a way that is quite soft, but anything done with black on top of color is going to look, a little bit more striking, especially fresh. The reason why I wanted to do them particularly on this rose is because this rose is covering the most scar tissue of any of the roses, and that came from one of my first layers, by the way. I had a little mime face guy from a band called Lacrimosa. It's kind of their mascot. Think Eddie from Iron Maiden. It's that kind of a thing. It's on all of their albums, and I really liked the band Lacrimosa. I still like them, but they meant a lot to me when I was younger. A lot of their music really spoke to me. I'm not going to get into that too much, but anyway, that whole outline was scarred up. It was done by an absolute butcher. And this is one of my arguments I make all the time when people ask me about if I have a lot of scar tissue. And the honest truth is I don't have a ton of it, but a lot of the scar tissue I do have has come from my first layers, not my new layers. That's because during my first bodysuit, especially early on when I wasn't getting tattooed all the time, I was just getting tattooed here or there, like 20 years ago. It was like, you're going to different artists and you're getting sick of one guy, you're trying another guy, and there was a lot of like kind of shitty behavior in the industry, and so you ended up bouncing around a lot of different shops, and it was hard to find someone that you would stay with for very long because most of them were assholes or did things that were less than decent, we'll say. So anyway, I got this one done by a guy who could barely tattoo. Even though he'd been doing it for a long time. And all he did was outline it, and it was still all scarred up. So that whole outline is scar tissue. You could still see it in the right light. I'll see if I can find a picture where you can see the whole thing. But because of that, it just doesn't take ink as well. It just doesn't. No matter how vibrant it looks when it's fresh, it just doesn't like to go in. That's part of why we didn't get it fully finished today. Not that I think it's going to make much difference anyway, because to be honest with you guys, that purple there will not be that bright. Even if we did another 2 layers, it's just not going to be. But hopefully it'll be a little brighter. I don't think that it'll be that much different between the healed and the fresh. And that's because purples, they tend to not have a whole lot of pigment to them. You can get some pretty good looking purple. A lot of times it's through use of color play, and you must have really, really good skin to show it off, or real badass saturating it. But purple is one of the weaker colors. It's part of the problem with this sleeve has been the heavy reliance and use of purple all throughout it. It always has this kind of a milky look to it. Even one of the girls at the shop here, Ashlyn, the girl that did the Nosferatu portrait on my leg, she has a big purple tattoo, or a big purple rodent of some kind. And then she has a green one on her other calf. She has them as matching calves. The green one is super striking, and the purple one is pretty milky, kind of dated looking already. And it's the case that purple is never really that vibrant, and I don't know why that is. Just don't think that the pigments that are in purple inks tend to be that bright. There are better and worse purples like anything else, but just in general, it's a bit of a weaker one. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm not expecting this to be that bold purple. With that said, if it's even a little bit better, that will be a win. But it saturates worse too. So in other words, every other color that Terry was packing into this took fairly easily. Right up to the end, the last thing we did was the leaves. But the purple was a struggle the whole way, and so as we were approaching over here, it was going in worse and worse as time goes on, and that's the case with color anyway. Whatever color you feel like is going to be the struggle point, I think is probably best to start with. But Terry's approach was, proceed from bottom to top and do all the red first, but then he did some of the blue and purple at the same time because they're tonally fairly similar. Usually you want to do your darker colors first, but the blue and the purple aren't really that much different, so he's building the blue and purple at the same time roughly. But it's getting harder and harder to pack, and he was afraid of disappointing me because, we usually do finish. In fact, we have done this rose and another rose at the same time more than once. But I was more of the mindset of this already looks good and we're trying to make it look better. I don't really need to rush. I'd rather get the color in as solid as we can. The days of like, oh, we have to do this today, those are kind of behind me. The rose sleeve has looked good a million times over. It's looked good a lot of different ways, and like it looks, I like it the most I've ever liked it. People don't. A lot of people liked it more before, several versions ago. But I think it's looking pretty good, and so I'm not really in that much of a hurry. It's just, we'll pick away at it and it'll be better in time. We probably had 20 minutes left if the skin was cooperating, but the way it was going in, it looked like an hour today. So, being a hard color to pack to begin with, not the most vibrant color, and then the body is pushing back, it was better to cut our losses, and we'll get it next time. Now, with that said, next time we'll probably be working on this one, and this is a smaller rose, so we'll be able to get that at the same time. And we'll get this one done, and in that session, I also want to do the second pass of Mr. Hankey. Terry's been wanting to do it now for a little while. I think it's been probably close to, 5-6 weeks. So, but he's looking great. Like, it's not like it's been any urgent need. My legs are very settled, so everything we do on them takes very easily. The dog portrait, I'm going to put a picture in here. I haven't taken one, but I'm going to take one after this. but it looks incredible for a first pass. Like it probably looks better healed than fresh. Now, when I spoke to you guys about it last time, it was still peeling in a few places. There's like one little spot that it's still peeling today. The deeper part of the inner thigh there. It's always a bit of a pissier area. It scabs up a little more. It's a little thinner skin. So that's not that surprising. But overall, the whole thing is pretty much healed, and it looks better healed than fresh. And people, it's crazy. I post that thing, and to me, it's the most elementary thing, skill-wise or like technically, because we did white and black on black first. That was one of the first things we did, and it's so much when people see it, they don't think it's gonna heal and all this shit. And I've seen it so many times that it was just very like basic for me, but it healed even better than I expected it to, and that's coming from me who has all kinds of experience seeing these things heal and getting them done. So it's cool that one of the more meaningful ones, one of the more important ones that I was going to get, ended up healing really well. So yeah, with that said, I don't have an appointment coming up with Terry this week. I actually have one coming up with my wife. She's designing another little tattoo for my leg. Well, it might be a little bigger than the can cane. We'll see. And then I have another session with Rick this coming week. So again, not sure exactly what we're going to be doing, but obviously more on the arm. So another 2 sessions next week, and will be my 6th leg tattoo over black. So my legs are progressing at a decent pace, but I'm not in a rush. I want to have some fun with them, like I said. But still, by the end of the year, my legs will be fairly full. And then I think it'll probably be mostly just tying in and second passes and shit like that, because I have a lot of my legs figured out already. It's just about getting there. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.